So a little bit about WinCan. We have always been known as the original sewer inspection asset management software when we entered the market 20 plus years ago. And we're a software company that designs software for data collection and analysis of wastewater pipelines. And we supply that product globally to the global market. And we have about 12,000 plus active licenses globally that we're supporting. And we specialize in not only small customers, but also big data implementations like larger cities, larger service companies, but also smaller ones as well. And how we support those customers is through our 6 global subsidiaries located here in the US, UK, Poland, Switzerland, Germany, and Japan. And through those subsidiaries, we support also dozens of hardware and software resellers. And our core values that WinCan was essentially built on is innovation, flexibility, and customer service. And today is a great example of how we continue to grow by those values. So we listen to the feedback of thousands of customers, as well as look to our industry as to what sort of challenges we are facing when it comes to wastewater inspection, specifically the data. And we saw a gap in the industry that was affecting our customers in the field and in the office, creating data challenges that caused manpower and time constraints, which meant customers weren't seeing the full potential of their data. And we wanted to create a solution for these challenges. And thus, Sewermatics was born. Today, we're able to transform your raw inspection data into the intelligence municipalities and contractors need to make critical maintenance decisions. And through Sewermatics professional services, you're now able to gain fuller support of your data, your team, and your decision-making. Offering 4 core services, customers are able to extract more value from their data by utilizing our AI-assisted defect coding, data conversion, data visualization services, as well as cloud hosting services. So as new technology emerges, we're seeing the industry trend with that advancement of technology. We're seeing lots of money is being spent on equipment and hardware to mine this gold we're calling inspection data. And what we're seeing is that that gold has the potential to provide so much more value than what we're seeing currently. So our mission with Sewermatics is to help our customers navigate through their data and add more value to their new and existing inspection data. So what this allows for is for workflow efficiency, bottleneck alleviation, and consistency in data collection and analysis. So what I'd like to do for now is walk you through a workflow, what a workflow might look like under the WinCan umbrella of products and services. So step 1 is we know that there's a ton of technology out there that we're using to extrapolate data from the ground. You've got trucks, you've got push cameras, drones, HD zoom cameras, jetter nozzle cameras, HD manhole scanning systems, the list goes on. And these are just a few tools being used to get the data out of the ground. And once that data is extracted, the data is then coded either in the field or in the back office to the inspection standard of that region, whether it's NASCO, WRC, WSA, etc. WinCan is also translated into 35 different language standards globally. Once that data is coded, then it can be synced to WinCan Web, which is our product that we use for secure cloud hosting, or sync it to your secured on-site local servers. That data can then be uploaded into WinCan Web, where it can be coded or QA'd, whether it's raw videos, existing data from regional standards like NASCO, WRC, WSA, etc. We can take the data and go straight into your asset management platform through WinCan's integration tools. And data can now be shared into third-party integrations like Esri, Cartograph, and Lucity. And these platforms create work orders for field crews or back-end office personnel that can be managed through WinCan Web as well. Data can then be utilized by inspection teams to collaborate and plan next steps. So things like QA and editing of data to ensure completeness and high accuracy. Your team can then utilize WinCan's in-depth analysis tools to review and analyze data. So for example, filtering, querying of data sets focused on specific types of info, specific pieces of info like defect ratings, inspection summaries, and also reporting. So this allows for seamless integration into your GIS platforms, which can be used to visualize data on a map. Examples of this are aerial-based maps, creation of heat maps based around specific info like defect grades or defect clusters, and other spatial analyst tools to provide a clear visual to help your data turn your data into decisions. And remember that at this point, this data has been collected, it's been QA'd, so that you can make the most accurate decision based on that data. So once that data is analyzed, it can be directly incorporated into any maintenance and rehab planning. And this entire workflow is essentially an example of what WinCan already provides our customer base through our existing product line. So we're taking it a step further by giving cities, contractors, and engineers the option to leverage Sewermatics into the workflow. So with Sewermatics, we really wanted to address where the pain points or the data challenges lie for the customer inside of this workflow. And generally, we found that there's always room for efficiency if we can streamline the collection in the field, as well as the back office workload in terms of QA/QC, storage, and GIS visualization. One way to do that is through our Sewermatics AI-assisted defect coding. Sewermatics coding services utilize artificial intelligence to expedite and improve accuracy of coding, while also eliminating operator subjectivity and providing greater consistency to your deliverables. The way it works is our in-house team of NASCO certified data coders receive the data or the videos and start running AI scans to identify any defects within the pipe. From there, the raw AI output is then reviewed by data coders for accuracy, and then verified again by our QA/QC manager. So essentially, data is going through a triple verification phase. And the neat thing is that during this entire process, the AI engine is being trained and improved for better accuracy and faster processing speeds down the line. This is done through our labeling process. So when the coder selects or confirms the proper defect, along with any ancillary data, it gets added to our reference library where the AI reaches to train itself. So what this translates to for the customer is greater efficiency, reduced workload in the field, and where the operator might be facing a stricter timeline or roadside dangers and distractions. We wanted to take it a step further in making sure we not only provide our customers with the latest technology, but to ensure that that use of the technology is streamlined and efficient. And we're doing this through the utilization of our data hosting service. So with our AWS-backed cloud hosting platform, this enables you to not only securely offload your servers to the cloud, but now you're able to remotely access that data from anywhere on any device, such as a phone, tablet, or computer. So long as there is an internet connection of some sort, you can remotely access this data from the cloud. And this allows for quick and smooth collaboration between field and back office personnel, making work order generation, GIS integration, and maintenance and rehab planning much more streamlined, much more accessible to all parties involved. And we like to call this our pipe to pocket. So we want to look at legacy data. So what about legacy data? We looked at this from a standpoint of how can we get more value out of that data that might be trapped in, say, different softwares, different standards and databases. And we found this to be a very common data challenge that causes so many unnecessary pain points, which ultimately translates into more money that's being spent to maintain and store data that essentially isn't providing much value. So our solution to this is our Sewermatics data conversion service. So we're able to ingest data in various standards, various softwares, convert it into the customer's desired format, whether it's merging a number of projects into one to streamline the communication channel to your asset management platform, or to bring all your data into PACP7 if it was collected in previous versions, for example. And we're able to provide a number of solutions to customers through our data conversion service with very little turnaround time. So customers can then utilize our data visualization service. So this gives the customer the freedom of offloading inspection and geospatial data to the Sewermatics team. And from there, we're able to create a various number of deliverables depending on the desired scope. So for example, it could be something as simple as a customer is interested in bringing inspection data into their GIS client, as well as spatial data, or something as specific as heat map layer to visualize grade 4, grade 5 defects. And this can all be achieved through our data visualization service here at Sewermatics. But now the beauty of Sewermatics is that our service offerings are completely customizable. Our goal is to provide our customers with the flexibility to choose a solution that best suits the data challenges that you're going through. So our services can be bundled, whether a customer wants to give us data from cradle to grave. You want it coded, converted, hosted on the web, and then integrated into your GIS platform. Or it can be a la carte, where some customers are just interested in just AI defect code. So it's completely customizable, completely flexible to the customer's need. Our vision is to make Sewermatics your one-stop shop for your data needs, whether you're, an existing WinCan user or not. Sewermatics Data Services enables your team to adopt a more efficient workflow and provide a more accurate deliverable while being able to unlock the full potential of your inspection data. So every great product starts with great customers to help validate our vision. And here are just a few of our early adopters that helped us along this journey. We were able to convert 160 plus gigs of legacy PACP data converted into PACP7. That's for Fairfax County. For Kansas City Water, we are able to utilize our AI and our coding team of NASCO certified individuals to code over 25,000 linear feet of data. Ross Valley, we did 300 plus MACP manhole inspections. We were coded for them, as well as Panorama AI coding. So next steps for us, we're always going to continue to train the AI engine. So with every foot or every meter of data that we ingest, the AI is getting more accurate and processing times are decreasing. Our web platform is pending NASCO certification, so we're actively testing the platform. We're in the testing phases, and we're in the final steps of this approval process, and we're expecting to have this process completed in the coming weeks. And going back to our core messages, our core message of innovation and flexibility, we continue to always find ways to implement our AI in our industry to better help the operator or the QA manager or the GIS specialist. But we truly believe that we can be AI can be a great assistant to help improve workflows, eliminate choke points that may cause many pain points down the line in our industry. So just as a quick overview, so we discussed our data-centric service solution, Sewermatics. 4 offerings that we're offering is data conversion services, AI-assisted data coding services, data hosting and data visualization services. Multiple projects completed through Sewermatics, some of our early adopters, and the value added through Sewermatics. So essentially streamlining your workflow for better efficiencies, improving the value and accuracy of your data, as well as providing expert consultation. So that's one thing that, obviously one of our core values is that customer service aspect. So we want to take our customer from cradle to grave along with that data, whether it's support, whether it's tools, integrations, whatever the case may be, we're there every step of the way. And so what I want to do now is just share a quick video of the AI client in the web. And I'm not sure if you'll hear the sound, but we'll go ahead and play this. And then after this, we'll open it up to some Q&A. All right. Okay, so from here, we will open it up to just some Q&A. And I'll have Mike and Martin also on the call here to help answer some of these questions. So we're just going to read them off from the chat. So feel free to type in your questions in the chat and we will do our best to get to them.
Yama, we did just get a question. Are coding services available to non-WinCan users? They are. To answer that one, we can code everything depending on what region you're in. We could bring it in through your standard export. For instance, if you're in the US, if it's a NASCO export, we can bring that into our cloud and we can code and we could deliver you back a NASCO export in that example. We can also do similar things with WRC as well. So you do not need to be a WinCan customer for the coding service. We have another question here. To what extent is human supervision needed for the coding service? I'll take this one as well, Yaman, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
It is still needed in the process. We use the AI to, somebody in the lobby here. AI is helping us organize the data and give us a initial code of the data. And then our supervision allows for the accuracy and also to allow us to train the model and improve it. So as we continue on, we feel human interaction will become less and less. But right now, it is still needed in the coding service to give you a highly accurate deliverable. So when I say highly accurate, we want to be able to return data back to our customers that are 90% or higher accurate. And we get that in the combination of AI and our trained coders for those regional standards. And we do have those people on staff inside of WinCan that are doing not only the coding, but the QA. So that's the extent that we're at right now. Another question, is there AI coding service for the truck? That's an interesting question. We have experimented in the field with assisting the operator with the collection of information. The one thing we've noticed is it actually tends to slow the operators down because we're still improving the AI engine, the ability to pick the defects out quickly and embed that. I think right now it's still in development. In the future, I definitely see that being involved more in embedded products and hardware and things like that, where with the evolution of of HD, 2K to 4K videos, things like that, it's really going to open up the world to applying AI to the truck. And I think it's going to help assist operators. If you're an organization that has new operators that are trying to learn these standards, which can be very difficult at first, this would be a great tool to help them. And it would also allow your more seasoned operators to work without being slowed down by AI, picking out the defects as quickly as AI can. So definitely going to be a service at some point, but we would say that's still under development right now. The focus has been on the back end with the processing of the data and the coding of the data. Another question, what we're doing is a pure classification or also localization of the defects in the images. It's both. We're going to provide you with both, if I understand the question correctly. We will base it off a group of defects that we have that we train on. And then it'll show in the image. And if it doesn't know, it'll just pick something out and then we'll code it and add that to our classification list. Another question, on average, how much time does the AI coding software take to process the day's inspection data? Right now, what we're seeing it depends on the length of the video. So we're seeing that we can process things now pretty quickly. So on average, if it's a 5-minute video, we're able to get a result back from AI within a minute or so. And those are times we're constantly narrowing down. Our goal is to be able to inspect, and what we've seen in some of our early testing and our early metrics is that we're able to process up to, I want to say it was, Yama, do you remember how many videos or footage we were processing in a day with some of our early test projects?
Yeah, our early test projects, we were upwards of, I believe it was 15,000 feet a day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's just with the intro to the team. So as we're scaling up, we expect that number to grow more and more and more. But
Absolutely.
so another question: what is the price model based on feet, meter, or time? It's a great question. With our price model, since we're offering an umbrella services, we have different models for each of our services. For instance, our AI data coding service is strictly a per foot or per meter model. That price can fluctuate. Obviously, the more data we get, the less that cost is. But that's a per foot model. But when you get into data hosting, it's storage space. How much do you need? And we apply that to any of the other services you're looking for. When it comes to data visualization or conversion, those are time and material costs, because we really have to look at what the headache there is, what the problem is, how much data do we need to convert, what format does it need to be into, and then we'll price that out as a time and material proposal to say, hey, to do this much, this is how much it will cost you, and then we can execute that. So at the end of the day, with Sewermatics, we can simply do something as simple as AI coding at a per foot or per meter cost, or we can take that and layer on top pricing to build a complete solution proposal for you for what you guys have for a need of a solution. Okay, here's another one. Yaman, what is the time expectancy for AI data collection to complete QA data? So including AI scan or human QA. If you want to talk about some of the return times we've had on some of our other pilots and test projects.
Yeah, so if I understand, what is the time expectancy for AI data collection to complete QA and data? So yeah, some of the turnaround time, I mean, we're seeing, I think at one point we got about 25,000 linear feet. We turned that around in 2 to 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. That was in our early stages, so it's getting faster and faster, and that's a full turnkey deliverable. So from when that data gets into Sewermatics, gets run through the AI coding team, looks at it, reviews it, QAs it, all that stuff, generates a report. You're looking, let's say on average 25,000 linear feet, about 2 to 3 days.
And that's completely QA'd.
Absolutely, turnkey, ready to go.
Another question here, do you see a future state where AI does not need to be human reviewed? That's a great question. We get that one a lot. I always say never. With technology and the way things evolve, and some of the technology going on in hardware with 4K, there are possibilities. I think a big challenge we have to overcome with that, though, and it's going to take time, is for instance, WinCan's in over 35 different language standards translated. So you have everything from NASCO codes that are 200 plus codes to ISIBAL that could be thousands of codes, and how do these codes correlate and line up? How do you train an engine on each of these standards, or can you cross-train them on standards and create a system around that? And I think that's what a challenge is. When you say 100%, I know in those familiar with PACP, if you think of defects like brickwork and surface damage and things like that, they're very layered. There's lots of them, and there's minor changes that make one defect, or it increases to the next defect. Those are things we really have to work on with AI to get it there. And it's not just training on an image or two to get that part. So you're going to have challenges. You're going to have different pipe materials in different parts of the world that are going to be used that you have to train on. So there's a lot of work to be done to arrive at that goal. Would I say that goal is not achievable? I wouldn't. I would say it could be, but it's going to take time and effort. I think right now the focus for us with AI is to be able to start helping right away with alleviating bottlenecks and use these services to take data that's kind of disorganized and dirty, I would say, and clean it and organize it and get it back into a visual or a fresh view that's agile, that people can pull up on smartphones, tablets, laptops, and be able to start making decisions or storing that data securely. So the question is the AI part available for us to use now? And the answer is yes, it is. So right now, all parts of Sewermatics that we've shown is available for use. But just to make clear, with the AI defect coding, we do all that. So what you saw in the video, in that short video, that's what our team is doing. So we're doing that to supervise the process more, to make sure AI is picking things out correctly, to give it its own QA and training process. So there's still that supervised part that we need. As a customer with data coding, we simply want to make it an easy experience. You give us data, give us time, we return it back. And when you get it, it's highly accurate and you're able to use it in your workflows. So right now, that's kind of the AI and where we're at with it and what's available. A question is, where are we with AI services in comparison to other AI vendors? I think we're all comparable. You know, some have better platforms, some have better engines, or maybe a little bit further ahead on the accuracy. But I do think as looking at competitive landscape, I think we're all progressing at the same speed. It's just we may be further advanced in some parts of our solutions than others. You know, I know a big differentiation factor for us is we're getting into services outside of AI coding and Sewermatics. So for instance, data visualization and data conversion, you know, we have customers that just want data conversion. They don't want anything else. So we can offer them as Sewermatics that service. So I think that's something, you know, we're looking at is, you know, we have resources and platform to do a little more in that service market. So if we can, we will. But I think when you look at it compared to the others, we're all progressing nicely with our platforms toward that common goal of providing, you know, using AI to provide high accuracy coding back. How do we get the data to you currently? Really, we could take data anyway. In our web platform, there is a import button that you can click and you can drop either raw video files into that or exports from the regional standard that you're coding in. So if it's NASCO PACP, for instance, you can export that information out, drag it into this box, hit import, and it imports the database, the videos, and the photos. If you just have raw videos, you can select 100 raw videos, drag and drop it into that mechanism, and it uploads it into WinCam Web. So we prefer to use web as our mechanism for that. However, if it's FTP links, we've taken data on thumb drives, whatever people could get us data for, we're going to get it into the program as part of that service. However, we'll deliver it back to them in web. And then once it's in web, they have the ability to store it there and keep it there securely. Or there is a download button where they can download the data and the information out raw, and then they can integrate it into whatever program they're using. If it's a third-party program that imports NASCO data or WRC data or WSA data, anything like that, they have that option, right? But we that's how we kind of mess with that's how we do the importing or get the data. Another one, are you providing predictive and analytics with data visualization dashboards? Currently, right now, we're working on some things in our platform to do exactly that, to be able to visualize this more clearly in a map and not only visualize it, but to be able to run different queries and different predictive models to see where these problems are in an overview. You know, where are our worst pipes? Where are our worst concentration of pipes? There'll be some special stuff toward the end of this year and the early next year that addresses that. But right now we're doing all of that through you know, any kind of third-party mapping software or asset management program or our WinCan VX desktop platform. We could do those visual dashboards and analytics. Another question, can you touch on how the data visualization is different than how WinCan is already integrated with Esri? I think the biggest difference is we'll be able to do it in the web. Right now, when we work with Esri, we either connect it to Esri Arc Pro or desktop, and we connect our desktop to that desktop, and then we could publish that information to our web and see that visual. So very similar to Esri, where you work in desktop and you publish to ArcGIS Online. That's how we are with WinCan. You work in WinCan, you connect to WinCan Mapper, WinCan or Esri, and then you publish to WinCan Web. Like Esri did, where now you could publish or work directly in ArcGIS Online, we will do the same with WinCan Web. You will be able to work directly in that component and be able to create the visuals and run analytical reports to produce things like heat maps or symbology based off of ratings or different information that's in the database that you have on your inspections. So that's where the differentiation will be for us. But right now it'll be what we similarly have. Another question, Yaman, how does the AI handle any codes that require remarks like NGO or unknown or other codes? Great question. And one of the things that is one of the things that we have to work on with AI is things that are required by standards in codes. If you look at MGO is a PACP, a NASCO PACP code, but in NASCO there are some defects that require multiple pieces of information to close that. So you're asking AI to not only identify what that is, but we're asking it to identify what the diameter or what the length or what the percentage of that is, and what the clock position is, and is it by a joint. There's lots of pieces of metadata that some defects required, and that's the challenge. That's why we feel the supervised part of it by human that's trained in that standard that knows that makes that more accurate. But right now, that's a challenge. Like, that's where the supervised part comes in. That's where our QA personnel and our coding personnel come in. They know that when something is found and it's an MGO, what we have to put in there. AI is not going to recognize right now that it's going, for us anyway, it's going from vitrified clay pipe to plastic pipe or to a black corrugated pipe. That's still going to need to be trained and supervised by adult right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got another question.
Yep, another question. You want to take that one, Yaman?
Yeah, sure. So question is a WinCan web account needed? Not necessarily. So we like to use the WinCan web platform for the transfer of data. Whether that's setting up if we're expecting, let's say, 50,000 linear feet of data, we could set up a quick test web account just to get that data ingested into our team and get it back to you. But the web hosting service is a completely separate service. If that is a pain point where your servers are getting overloaded, and you're looking at a solution for that. But like Mike alluded to earlier, and we can get data in any sort of way, whether it's us coming down there, picking up a hard drive, doing it through the web, just a number of different ways that we can get the data to us. I'm still working here on the background to make sure everyone has access to the chat here, but it's looking like this is potentially a Teams issue.
Anybody that has questions that is not able to access the chat, please contact. We left the slide up with Yaman's contact information. Please contact him. You can call or email your questions into him, and we'll be in response quickly to make sure we get your questions answered and so forth.
Yeah. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but like Mike said, feel free to reach out, phone call, text, email, whatever works best for you with any of your questions. If you're looking for a consultation, we can sit down and really do a deep dive into what are some of your pain points or challenges, and then look into some of the Sewermatics solutions that we have.